Coming up on today's show.
They might be feeling embarrassed or frustrated with where they are, and they're at the point where they're ready to reach out for help, but they're a little scared about what that help's going to be like on the other end of the phone.
Not all professional organizers are the same, so you probably want to find a professional organizer that kind of matches your needs and your styles. So
when you have a client where the fit does match, when you work with them, it's almost like magic.
How to choose a professional organizer today on Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. Today, we're going to help you find a professional organizer, the questions to ask, what to think about, because sometimes getting organized, you just get so overwhelmed and you need to bring in help. So, of course, we're going to bring in help on this podcast, and that is Linda Samuels. Linda, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, John. How are you?
Excellent. Now let's tell people you've got the blog and you've got your organizing business. So let's promote both websites.
Great. I have two websites, the other side of organized.com, which is my book blog website. Lots of tips, lots of interaction there. And then my osoorganized.com website, which tells all about my professional organizing services and other things. So I hope people will come by and check them out.
Absolutely. Well, and that really leads into what we're talking about today, which is how to choose a professional organizer. And, you know, you've been doing this a long time. Just describe kind of the feelings people have right before they decide that, you know what, it's time to get a professional organizer. And so kind of what's the mindset of the person people can maybe relate to?
Sure. I think the mindset is there's some overwhelm and there's some fear because they might be feeling embarrassed or frustrated with where they are, and they're at the point where they're ready to reach out for help, but they're a little scared about what that help's going to be like on the other end of the phone. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's true that not all professional organizers are the same. So you probably want to find a professional organizer that kind of matches your needs and your styles. So
absolutely. You hit the nail on the head there, John.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I know you have some, I don't know if they're tips or steps but we got 6 things we want to talk about. Let's call them things, right?
Okay, we'll call them things.
Okay. Well, let's start out with the first thing we need to consider when choosing a professional organizer.
Right. So it's all about finding the right fit. And what I've done is put together a bunch of things, questions that you can think about to help you determine to find the right one. So number 1 is the assessment. And in that assessment, basically that phase, you want to clarify what your needs are. This is really important. So things like, what kind of organizing help do you need? There's such a wide range of specialties that organizers have from, on a macro level, there's residential organizers, there are business organizers, but within each category, there are organizers that specialize just in paper or just in moving or just in chronic disorganization, which is one of my specialties. So thinking first about what your needs are will help when you're starting to reach out to organizers, to possible ones for you.
Now, the person who's disorganized may not know that concept or what to do. So what kind of questions should they ask to kind of help qualify themselves to the organizer?
Well, the kinds of things they might want to ask would be, for instance, if they are someone that's been struggling for a long time, sometimes it's just a matter of revealing that to the potential organizers that they might be hiring, and then seeing how that organizer responds. Because someone that's used to working with that population will then begin to ask the potential client a series of questions. And as the client starting to interview, you're going to notice a difference with how those conversations go.
Right. Okay, good. So now, is there anything else we kind of need to know? I mean, I understand this concept here. We want to make sure we match. Do you have any stories of a bad match or maybe a good match? I mean, not to necessarily bring out the bad, but just to illustrate this point maybe a little bit further.
Absolutely. So it's all about the fit. So for instance, when someone calls up, I'm listening to certain things. Are they ready? Or is what they're asking for in my skill set? Okay. That's the kind of client I want to work with. And why is that? Because they're already asking for help. So my objective is to get them the best possible help they can get. If that's not me, I'm happy to refer out.
Right.
So when you have a client where the fit does match, when you work with them, it's almost like magic.
Okay.
And you can start to sense that when you have the call. When you pick a client that's the wrong fit, do you know the expression pushing a wet noodle?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you feel like. That's what they feel like. It just, you never can help them quite move towards what their goals are. So
in that case, nobody's happy, right?
Nobody's happy. It's not good for the client. It's not good for the organizer, not good for the industry. So it's up to both the organizer and the client to find that right fit. It's really key because it's a very personal relationship that you develop with an organizer. And you have goals, you have fears, you have overwhelm, you have things that you want to accomplish. And if you're not doing that journey with the right person, not good.
Yep, I hear you. So what it sounds like is that if someone's calling an organizer for the first time, an organizer that asks a lot of questions, who listens, and gives you the opportunity to kind of describe your situation is probably a good first step.
It's a good first step. And you'll know that. That kind of brings us to the second point, which is the contact. So on that initial conversation, when you're looking for an organizer, how that conversation goes has a lot to do with the future, with the indicators for how your relationship will go. So for instance, if you, things even like, how did you find that organizer? Was it through a referral, through a trusted friend or colleague? Was it through an ad? Was it through a professional association? Was it through an article that you read about the organizer, or maybe a seminar where you actually saw the organizer, heard them speak, so you got a sense of them? Was it an internet search? All of those things are going to affect how that first conversation goes. Things like how responsive was the organizer to the questions that you had? How sensitive were they to what you were sharing with them? Were they non-judgmental? Were you comfortable talking with them? Sometimes there's a flow. Like you do tons of interviews, right? Sometimes there's a flow and sometimes it's trickier, right?
It's always a flow with you though.
Oh, thank you, God. And I feel the same for you, but you know what I'm talking about.
Right, yeah, right.
And so those are things that in that initial contact, as the person asking, you're going to get a sense.
Right, and we know you're a member of several organizations. One, though, is the National Association of Professional Organizer, which is NAPO.net. They have a directory there, too, where people can, and I know on that directory, you can actually maybe indicate some of the specific kinds of things you're looking for. Hey, look, your phone's ringing already. That shows you how effective this show is, Meanwhile, while Linda is getting another job,
oh my goodness.
It's great when you do things live. I love it, immediate response. So people are calling for you. Anyway, so I think, NAPO.net is a great resource that people can use for finding someone who's close to them and also will help qualify, match maybe some of the skills. Because like you say, there's a wide variety of people like that. Now, do you want to put a plug in for your other organization for, of course you do, because I don't know if you have a directory or not, but, for certain kinds of people, that would be helpful too.
Yes. So there's, and I'm a member of both NAPO and ICD. I'm actually the president of ICD, Institute for Challenging Disorganization, which is challengingdisorganization.org, which also has a directory and a search function. Great. And both associations, you can find organizers from all over the world and ones that specialize in what it is that you're looking for. Okay. Both terrific resources for you.
Great. All right. Well, are we ready to move on to point 3 yet?
We are ready. So This one is really interesting. So point 3 has to do with availability. Okay. So for instance, when a potential client calls up, we'll have an initial series of questions. They have questions. I've got questions. There's a lot of listening back and forth. But before we get too far, a key question is finding out if the organizer schedule and the potential client schedule mesh. So for example, Organizers structure their business differently. Some work round the clock, weekdays, weekends, evenings, some do not. So let's say you've got a potential client calling and they can only work on weekends, and the organizer does not work on weekends. Guess what? Not a good fit. Because, you know, organizing is a service business. It's a people business. We're here to help and serve our clients. However, all the businesses are structured differently and have different sets. So it's important to ask those questions, because let's say you're speaking with an organizer. You love the organizer. Oh my gosh, you can't wait to start working with them. You want to work weekends and they don't work weekends. Not good. So you don't want to get too far before that starts to come up.
Awesome. Well, and part of this show involves taking commercial breaks, which we're going to do right now. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the other 3 steps to hiring a professional organizer with Linda Samuels, oh so organized, and she is, and we'll be right back.
When you've got it together, everyone can tell. Your confidence is obvious. Introducing Viewables.com from Smead. Use the Viewables labeling system to transform your drawer of hanging files into a tidy, organized filing system. Using the premium hanging folder tabs, see the label from the front, top, and back. It's easy. Access Viewables.com from any computer, tablet, or internet-enabled smartphone. Let's make some labels. It's free, and there's nothing to download or install. Choose the label type and format your label just the way you want. You can even add index characters or icons for distinctive filing. Set up a free Viewables cloud account, and your secure login lets you save your projects for convenient access from any computer. And with Viewables multi-purpose labels, you can use one label for any type of file, including hanging folders, top tab folders, super tab folders, or oversized items like notebooks and file boxes. Upload a list of file headings and print your complete set of labels in moments. There's even a library of templates for commonly used label sets. It's never been easier to set up neat-looking files that have easy-to-read headings and efficient color codes. Obviously organized. Viewables.com. From Smead, keeping you organized.
We are back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about how to choose a professional organizer with Linda Samuels from Oh So Organized and the other side of Organized. That's your blog, which we all love reading. And so Linda, before the break, we talked about our first 3 steps. You know, we kind of doing some of the qualifying and making sure that there's a good fit and there's availability. But there's some more that goes into finding a professional organizer. So let's get on to step number 4, or point number 4.
Point number, however you want to call it, step, points, things.
Okay.
So number 4 is research. So here's where you want to do, as the potential client, you want to do your due diligence and do as much research as you can, again, within limits. You don't have to make yourself crazy, so that you're going to find that right fit. So top tip there is, how many organizers have you spoken with? Now, you don't have to speak with 100, but I would recommend at least speaking with 2 or 3. And why? Because we're all different, right. Which is a good thing. We have different personalities, different business structures, and you will find the one that's right for you. And just by having that point of comparison, when you make your decision, you will feel better. So that, I always recommend that.
Right. You know, we do our live Organizer 411 events. You've been involved in those before. And I remember someone saying, well, you know, I tried a professional organizer and it didn't work. But, you know, we don't know whether or not that person, just talk to one person or not, because there are so many different approaches. So that's great advice, you know, for just about anything. You know, talk to a couple different people. It's not necessarily about, you know, finding, you know, price shopping or whatever, but it is, you know, it is a personal business. It involves personalities. It's not a commodity. So that's, I think that's wise advice there.
Right. And even, you know, when you look at the podcast that Smead has done and the huge amount of organizers that you've interviewed, frankly, that's a great way for people to interview organizers. They can go back and listen to the podcast, and you absolutely get a feeling for what someone's personality is like based on how they're answering questions, what they're talking about. So that's another tip, right? You become a source, John.
Right. Well, absolutely. I mean, and to go along with that, you know, we've had people that have, you know, one says, I like showing before and after pictures. Another says, I don't like showing before and after pictures. Neither of them is the right answer, but that is kind of, that illustrates that point where, you can have more than one right answer. It's kind of the person that's associated with.
Right. And so, for instance, for that particular question, I mean, you didn't ask the question, but that's one of my hot buttons. Everyone loves seeing before and after pictures, but I always feel that when you show that, there's a trust issue.
Mm-hmm.
That clients, one of the key things, and you start to try to build a trust even on that initial call, when you're showing before and after pictures, you're showing the private spaces of your clients and kind of using that as advertising. So even if they've given you permission, I think sometimes when future clients or potential clients are looking at that, they're thinking, oh boy, is that organizer going to expose me to the world too?
Right.
So but those are the kinds of things that when you're speaking with an organizer, you might want to be asking about if it's for you. So.
Well, and you don't, and to defend the other side, not that I think one is better than the other. Someone might say, "Wow, look, they were able to take that space. Looks like my space. I don't know who the name of this person is, but they were able to take a small closet and make a great place to store shoes that looks great or whatever. I'm just picking that. And in that case, maybe it's okay. But I think what you have to do is, again, as part of getting that comfort level of, is this person someone I feel comfortable working with?
Right. And I also think, for instance, I may be particularly sensitive to that issue because I specialize in working with the chronically disorganized population. Whereas someone that may be working with a population where that's not an issue and where it is more important to see that before and after, and they don't have the same sort of emotional attachments and issues with things, maybe it's also part of that. So.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's move on to the next point. We're at number 5, right?
We're at number 5. Okay. So number 5. Oh, can I add one more thing to the research piece before we go on?
Yeah. Yep.
So another piece is just things like when you're doing your research, think about, have you asked for references?
Oh, yeah.
And if you've asked for references and spoken with clients that organizer has worked with, think about things like, what's longevity? How long has the organizer worked with the client? Is the nature of the work that they're doing similar to what you need? So those kinds of things are part of the research. And the last one is, things like, does the organizer have a website? And when you go to the website, what kind of impression do you get? And how does that factor into maybe the work that you might do together? So things
Awesome.
like that.
That's
So now,
all smart advice.
okay, number 5, or I have 10, 5. Now this one, I call it intuition. And very simply, it's after you've taken in a bunch of the information, you want to kind of listen to what are you hearing internally. So that inner voice is going to guide you too. Mm-hmm. You may sit down with a pros con list. It may just be in your head, but you're going to get a feeling about one of these organizers that you spoke with. You're either going to feel like, yes, I want to work with that person. I absolutely. Or you're going to feel like, no, something wasn't quite right. Those are important to listen to. So you don't want to just base it on availability or price or experience, because that gut feeling will make a huge difference in how that relationship develops going forward.
Absolutely.
Another piece of that intuition is simply thinking about, how was your communication with them? Was it easy? Was it difficult? Was it strained? Were you on the same page? Did they seem to understand you or not? Simple things like, how easy was it to schedule even setting up a phone call or getting in touch by email or whoever you contacted? There's a gut feeling about that. Pay attention, because again, that's an indicator for going forward and what things might be like. And lastly, and this is a key one for the intuition piece, how did you feel when you got off the initial call? You probably called them you most likely were feeling overwhelmed, fearful, hopeless possibly. Did you feel hopeful by the end? Very important. I know that's one of the things I look for when I'm speaking with a client, a potential client. What was the mood when we first started speaking, and how did they feel by the end? And even if they don't end up choosing me to work with for a variety of reasons, if they feel hopeful at the end, I already feel like I've done my job, part of it, the beginning.
Oh, that's just great advice. And I think, maybe even like having, taking some notes. And if you're talking to a couple people, then you can compare your notes. How did I feel at the end of that call? How did I feel at the end of that call? Because that's also going to translate to when you're working with them and you're at the end of a session. How do you want to feel at the end of the session too, right?
Exactly. And, when you walk in to work with a client, all kinds of things could be going on,
right,
having nothing to do with organizing. But I know my personal goal is to always leave them feeling better than however I walked in.
Awesome.
Whatever they were when I walked in.
Okay. Yeah. Point number 6.
Point number 6. Is that right? 6.
Yes. 6 of them is good. Yes.
Okay. 6 is really an interesting one. This has to do with the organizer's education and experience. Okay. So, how long have they been organizing? What kind of education do they have, specific training or education related to organizing? Are they, even if they've had training, do they make continual ed a priority in their lives? Or did they do their training, now they're done, they're in business, boom. The more plugged in an organizer is to associations like ICD or NATO or other ones, they're, organizers specialize in ADD or coaching or things like that. The more plugged in they are, the more they continue to add to their wealth of information, tools, strategies, network of other organizers, the more they'll be able to offer the client. And that's just, I've seen that. I've been doing this over 20 years. And, there are some organizers that don't believe in being part of associations. That's their choice. But the ones that are involved, that are plugged in, that are volunteering, that are, actively engaged with their colleagues, they have that much more to bring to the table, which means they can help the client that much more.
This is kind of a little tangent off this, but I've just got to thinking about a friend of mine who is a golf pro. Okay. And, you have all these great golfers, but then you have the coaches or the people that teach golf, and it's really 2 different sets. And I'm got me thinking about professional organizers. I would imagine there's some organizers who are really good at organizing to say, here, just let me do this for you. And then there's probably organizers who will help you learn how to do it so you can kind of, learn how to fish kind of thing. Do you see any of that going on in the industry where there's maybe 2 different types like that?
Yes. And honestly, I think even within an individual organizing business, there's a good chance you're going to have a variety of that. So just as an example, most of the clients that I work with and that many of my colleagues work with, they want to learn the organizing skills. And so we are working with them and helping to transfer the skills, teaching the skills, modeling the skills. However, there are clients that are time poor, that may be organized or know how to organize, but they don't have the time to organize. And so they're hiring an organizer to come in and do it for them.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so that's part of the discernment process as you look at and trying to hire an organizer. If you know that you're somebody who's time crunched, I just want someone to take care of this for me. Right. Tell them that up front, because there may be you might be talking to someone who wants to teach you how to get organized. It's like, that's not what I don't want to learn how to get organized. I want someone to organize this for me so I can, continue to do my other things or, that kind of thing.
It's all in questions, right?
It is very good. Well, we're just about out of time here. Let's talk about your business and who are the kinds of people you want to call you because you can help them the most, and how do they get a hold of you?
Well, in terms of how they get a hold of me, it's by email, linda@osoorganized.com. They can call me on the phone. Should I give you that number?
Absolutely.
Okay, 914-271-5673. Those are the 2 best ways to reach me. In terms of ideal clients, I'm looking for clients that are ready to make a change. And even if they're not ready to do all that's involved in making the change, as long as they are ready and they have decided that they want to invest their time and resources to do that, I love walking the walk with them. Most of the clients I work with, I enjoy having the ongoing relationship with. So it's rare that I'm going to get a call where someone says, can you come in and organize my closet? Boom, we're done. I can do that work and I enjoy it. But what I really enjoy is developing a relationship with someone that has been struggling with organizing for a long time, and where I can help them to work kind of regularly consistently over a period of time to help them to feel more in control and work towards the goals that they have.
And you're in the New York City area, but you do virtual organizing as well?
I do all kinds, yes. I've actually even gone to Las Vegas. A client flew into Las Vegas to organize. That was fun. But yes, I do virtual. I do a lot of hands-on. I do phone work, all kinds of things.
We'll have everything you talked about in our show notes, which you can see at smead.com/podcast. We'll have your contact information there, and looking forward to more conversations with you in the future, because you really bring a lot to the table, and I enjoy personally just speaking with you.
Well, I feel the same way, John.
In September, we're going to hit our 100th show, and we got something special lined up for that. So we'll be letting people know that as well. So that's it, folks. You now know how to hire a professional organizer. Take the advice, go back and look at the show notes, do your research, do your homework, and you will be able to get from overwhelm to a point where you feel really good. So Linda, again, thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you so much for having me, John. Have a great day.
And look forward to, folks, our 100th show coming up in just a few weeks here on Keeping You Organized.
Coming up next time on Keeping You Organized. Hey, everybody, join us for our 100th podcast episode. We're going to do it live for you, coming up on September 23rd at 10 o'clock Central. Now, that's 11 o'clock Eastern and 8 o'clock Pacific time. You can sign up by going to smead.com/podcast and look for the sign up link for our 100th episode of Keeping You Organized.